Hey guys, what's up? Today you're about to meet 10 JRPGs that you won't believe are actually good. Either because they have terrible covers, or the gameplay just looks really generic, or because in the end they got trashed by critics and gamers alike in the reviews. But I can guarantee that at least in my opinion, these games are actually good. Alright, let's begin! Number 10. Glory of Herakles. With a cover like that, you might think it's just one of those generic games that no one gives a rat's ass about. Unfortunately, that's precisely what happened. No one gave a damn and most gamers ignored it. This wasn't exactly a big mistake, as Glory of Herakles isn't your wonderful, underrated masterpiece, but it would have been nice to get more attention as it is very fun to play. It's actually part of a series of RPGs that never came out of Japan, except for this one being the 6th and final game. They were all developed by the defunct company Data East. Glory of Herakles on Nintendo DS was made by some of the remnants of that studio, now called Paon. Obviously, it is based on the Greek mythology, but it's mostly a comedy, although I must admit it's a very well written one. The battle system is all that matters in this hidden gem. It's turn-based, but it revolves around the magic circles that you cast with the stylus by connecting the runes on the touch screen. I really enjoyed this battle system as it made me come up with very different strategies during some of the bosses. Not an easy game, and yeah, no masterpiece either, but give it a try if you can, because it's actually pretty good. Number 9. Thousand Arms. It's another game that, by the look at its cover, you'd think is just another budget title and generic RPG on the system. It's not, and let me tell you, this is kind of unique. Story is yet another comedy with some serious perks here and there, but overall a laughing experience. Its English voice acting is legendary bad, but it's so bad it's actually quite funny. Battle system is also turn-based, but here you can only fight battles on one-on-one since the rest of the party mainly acts with supporting roles. Developing your strategies with these characters, especially during the bosses, is the key to exploiting the system and overall enjoying it. As you can see, the game has these really early CGI animations to create 3D backgrounds, with all the characters being completely small or super deformed during battle. There's also this dating simulation where you choose your replies to the girls in order to increase your intimacy level. The purpose of this is to have them imbue weapons with more power, something that actually is very important in the game. Overall, it's a fantastic adventure. Not what I will call a masterpiece, but an RPG that you wouldn't normally believe it's actually good. Number 8. Saiyuki Journey West. Another hidden gem on the PS1 is this cool strategy RPG developed by Koei. It's also one of those stories heavily influenced by one of the classic Chinese novels about a monk making a journey across China and India. This is where Dragon Ball took the popular name Goku as one of its main characters. Goku is a co-protagonist here, along with other interesting people that can turn into giant monsters for a short period of time during battle. But obviously it's not the same Goku as Dragon Ball, yeah duh. You choose the gender of Sanso, the central figure of the game, and start your journey in this grid-based isometric tactical RPG. Let me tell you, it can become very grindy every now and then, so be prepared to spend a while leveling up your characters, since it's not an easy game. It's too bad the cover, the name, and also the lack of marketing made everyone ignore or simply forget about this fun RPG. And if we also consider that it got crushed, among many others, by lots of classics on the system, it's no wonder it never made it mainstream. So if you can get your hands on it or find a way to play it, Give it a chance as it is quite fun and charming. Number 7. Onimusha Tactics. Whenever a video game franchise makes a spin-off that ends up an RPG or something entirely different from its original genre, it often fails. Onimusha Tactics is no exception to this rule, as it faded into oblivion when people saw it was a strategy RPG from a hack-and-slash franchise. Well, I gotta admit, the developers tried, and for some of us who actually played it, the game succeeded. It's far from being one of the best tactical RPGs on the system, but it is again a hidden gem and overlooked title that's really fun to play. Story is all about a samurai fighting against the Nobunaga army, very similar to the original series on the PS2, although it has absolutely nothing to do with them. Capcom did this game in order to approach the boom of strategy RPGs back in the early 2000s, but they never properly advertised it. I suggest you forget about the Onimusha name on its title, regardless of if you play the PS2 games or not. It's a classic on the Game Boy Advance, forgotten gem with grid-based maps and an interesting cast of characters to train. It's also fairly balanced, so it might be a good entry for gamers into the genre. Number 6. Shikhandi, the Timeless Land. Many of the games in this list have been sort of a joke when it comes to stories and appeal, which is also the reason why people don't believe they're actually good. Shikhandi is one perfect example, although its cover gives you a good impression from the beginning. However, the gameplay and visuals, as you can see, can easily turn off a lot of people simply by looking so retro and colorful. This action RPG has a lot of charisma, and you'll be laughing your ass off with how many idiocies the story offers. It just never takes itself seriously. Platforming in 2D while fighting with a few allies against these monsters can be quite entertaining. You do all these missions against the clock to compete for points and better rewards. Then you go back to town, where it's time to talk to people, a place where the story mainly develops for the most part. You enter shops and little by little start unlocking these skills to get more powerful. You know, this game is highly repetitive, but trust me, I say this in a good sense, as it is extremely addictive to play. If you want a break from all those serious and complicated RPGs out there, Shikhandi might be actually a great idea for you to play. Number 5. Asterisk Wars, Phoenix Festa. We've seen so far unknown and slightly underrated titles. RPGs that you won't believe are actually good. This one is based on a really quirky anime with a bad reputation, but thankfully surviving the transition to gaming. It did so by adding some addictive battle mechanics that keep you from a laughable experience with its generic story and stereotyped characters. It's sort of like a visual novel and also a harem, where you train your main character all the time, most likely in your room, to improve his different status. In a very, fun and awkward way. Anyway, the goal is to beat the crap out of your enemy or enemies in these 3D battlefields in a hack and slash system. Sometimes you'll be on your own, trying to use combos and skills, but as soon as you choose a girl, story-wise, she'll join you in battle. This means that the game has different endings and different routes to follow. If you're into fan service and cheesy, predictable stories, go ahead and give it a try. And if you're not, it doesn't matter, as the gameplay mechanics will make you tolerate or at least ignore its dumb traits. On a side note, this game was digital only until PlayAsia started selling a physical version with English subtitles, but good luck finding it, since it has become quite rare and expensive nowadays. Number 4. Magical Star Sign. I've covered this game many times before in my channel, often defending it from people calling it generic. It's quite unique, a true RPG for kids, with amazing battle mechanics in its turn-based system. You choose the gender of the main character, whose element will be attached to light, and start an adventure with your weird classmates, each with their own element. Their goal is to find their missing teacher throughout all the universe, visiting many different planets and getting graciously involved into all kinds of silly situations. It has a lot of charisma and its own charm in a way, since it's very inviting to play once you've started. The cover might be the reason why many gamers look the other way, for being just too childish and unappealing. Like most of the titles in this list, it's quite cheap, and if we mix that with the cover, it's no wonder gamers barely gave it a try. I strongly recommend this really fun RPG that, even though it didn't win any major awards, it's totally worth your time. Truly a hidden gem and a perfect definition of an RPG that you won't believe it's actually good. Number 3. Full Metal Alchemist and the Broken Angel and Full Metal Alchemist 2 Curse of the Crimson Elixir. So these twins on the PS2 left a lot of people with little desire to play them, as no one thought they were action RPGs. Gamers and critics are very used to seeing successful anime or manga series exploring the video game world, often with a turn of mediocrity. I can't exactly blame them for believing these two games could be boring, generic and uninteresting. What I suggest is for you to play them and have your own opinion, as you should, because they might surpass your expectations. Both games are directly connected and they follow the events of the series, but retold within a role-playing adventure. You can only control Edward in both titles, while Alphonse is managed by the AI all the time. First game has some weird camera issues and clunky controls, which might be the reason its reviews turned a lot of people away. Second game, however, the main feature in this top 10, fixed those things and turned my experience into a pleasant surprise. Even if you're not a fan of the anime, I'm pretty sure you'll get into them no problem. I cannot guarantee a superb adventure with these games, but at least I can honestly tell you they're pretty decent titles that you won't believe are actually good. Especially the second one. Number 2. Ever Oasis. Grezzo is the company that was responsible for porting some of the Legend of Zelda games to the 3DS. So with their experience, with an endorsement from Nintendo, they created Ever Oasis, which might look like a Zelda clone to an extent, but I'd say that's completely wrong. This is the overlooked gem on the 3DS many YouTubers began recommending when they realized no one else was paying attention. But with a title and a cover that looks like one of those millions of cheesy and cutesy monster collecting games or whatever, I can't blame them. Alas, it's nothing of the sort. In Ever Oasis, your goal is to build a whole town around an oasis with the help of the water spirit. So there you go into adventures and battles into dungeons, leveling up, gaining experience, getting items, alone or with your party members. All this in a quest-driven game while managing your resources and the town itself. It's like the Legend of Zelda meets Harvest Moon, for so to speak, but I wouldn't go that far. Ever Oasis is its own game, really fun to play, quite addictive as a matter of fact, and something that you just can't miss. Number 1. Stella Deus, The Gate of Eternity. I put this game on the first place of the list because I've always felt critics went unfairly overboard with their reviews. It did good at first, but then several other websites and gamers began trashing it. I don't mean to say it's the best of the 10 I showed, more like the most underrated. Since it's a game from Atlus, imagine the expectations people had back then, only to be disappointed to see it wasn't a Fire Emblem competitor or a Disgaea rival. Stella Deus is a solid strategy RPG, grid-based of course, meaning you select your characters, move in squares within a distance and plan your actions. It's also a grind fest, as the game can be pretty unforgiving at times, giving you little chance to survive. But with a few tricks that you can easily find on Google nowadays, you'll be over-leveled in no time. Regardless, it's a really cool plot, politically oriented, with strong character development and a story-driven adventure. It may have one of the absolute worst English voice acting in history, but it's tolerable. I also really dig its cel-shaded graphics and animations. You know, if this game's mechanics had been polished a little bit more, it would have been a commercial success, I'm sure. Check this game out if you want to, and also its background since it had a lot of influences and a very interesting development. Stella Deus is no masterpiece, it's mostly a hidden gem that, by its late reviews, you won't believe it's actually good. So that's it for this video, my friends. Those are 10 JRPGs that in my opinion are actually good. But in the end, it'll be entirely up to you whether those games are actually good. So go ahead and play them and have your own opinion. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video. What the hell are you doing here? I thought I trashed you!